Tales from the streets.
Lisa, welcome back. I really appreciate you joining us to round out part two of your episode. I really appreciate you coming back.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. So we're gonna kind of pick up where we left off on part one, just to kind of round out those experiences, and then we'll transition into what we discussed prior. So we're gonna start off. You were in the courtroom with Glenn, which your mother made you go to, and he's glaring at you, and that's kind of where we ended off.
hmm
You want to go through that experience?
Yeah. Well, I just remember thinking that maybe he will kill me someday, maybe the photographer. I don't know. Who knows, right? But trying
Yeah.
not to think about it, and um, just the whole stress of being in the courtroom, and after having walked by his family and them shaming me, uh,
Yeah.
just kind of out of body experience. And then the judge asked if I had anything to say, and my mom like pushed me up to say something. And really, what just came out of my mouth was, um, I don't know. It seemed like a different person speaking, not like 16-year-old me that was completely lost and confused. But I just told the judge that, he said that he was my friend and all this stuff, and talked about the stalking and drugs and everything. And the judge was just very kind, and afterwards said that he would actually, I don't know, not get early parole or something because of that, which I
Mhm.
felt good about and not good about. Does that make it worse for me or not? Or, you know,
Yeah.
confusion like that. But after all of that happened, um, we get up to leave, and this lady, this blonde lady in a
Yeah.
police uniform, came up to me and said, "Thank you so much. You're so brave." And she introduced herself as Glenn's ex-wife.
So crazy.
And I
Yeah.
That's
know. Yeah.
wild.
She said that they have a daughter or daughters, maybe
Mhm.
just a daughter. And that was really, really sweet of her to come and validate me
Yeah.
like that.
No, for sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And then, so we transitioned from the courtroom, and you were talking about at the time you had a boyfriend who, I'll let you tell that part.
Yeah. So
Because then you go home and you're like, I need to get out of here.
well, I mean, he was waiting for me, and we were 14. I was 14 when we met,
Yeah.
and he was a perpetrator. I called him my
Uh-huh.
boyfriend, but he was a perpetrator and a drug dealer. And of course, he didn't support me in the court situation, but he was ready for me when I came home, and then we just took off.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it was yeah, mostly negative. But his family, I'll say mostly negative. He was a perpetrator, okay?
Yeah.
Understood. Yes.
Exactly.
And my mom supported the relationship and let me move out with him, and then nobody cared,
How old
obviously,
were you when you
about my
moved out?
16.
Okay. All right.
It didn't last too long. I ended up moving back home again, but he had free access either way, and we would go to his place, which was up the street. His parents. I actually met him through one of my childhood best friends, Andy, who lived up the street, and we actually had permission from neighbors to use their pool if an adult would watch us. And so Andy says, "Go over to these people's house." And Bob happened to be there, and he said, "Yeah, I'll watch you guys." And he had just gotten out of prison for dealing cocaine in the military, but
Okay.
I didn't know that exactly at that moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But anyway, all of that dysfunctional intertwining of the neighborhood and Andy's mom trying to get me to go out with Bob. I didn't want to. There's just weird stuff people
Uh-huh.
um, are involved in. But there was drugs there. Anyway, though, but Bob's family, they were really nice. They were really nice to
Uh-huh.
me, and they were Christian, and they weren't shy
Okay.
about it. And they must have known what was going on, but they never made
Uh-huh.
me feel bad or feel judged. However, they probably should have called CPS. Anyway,
Probably.
but so
Yeah.
around 16, Bob's sister started to really, when I was 16, I guess. Yeah, about 16. And just started to basically fellowship me. The church had sports going on, so I was more than happy to go anytime volleyball.
Mhm.
You can hate my guts. Let's just play volleyball. But so started that way and then started studying scripture with them. And I just said, I'm open to studying, but I'm not interested. Like I
Mhm.
was raised, like I was born Episcopalian, and then we left that church when my parents divorced. And then we were Buddhist for a while with my stepdad. And
Okay.
Buddhist?
Yeah, Buddhist.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And,
Okay.
that was sweet with him, but then we left that, when my, when he left my mom. But, like,
Right.
I always believed in God, and I always had faith, and I always loved
Right.
Jesus. I just didn't really know Jesus.
Right.
Mhm.
But,
Yeah.
Okay.
like, even the Buddhists talked about Jesus, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
so then basically just over that next I was probably mid 16 up until about 18 for like a year and a half. It was like a conversion process for me. Bob was always like not the one to talk to, even though he said that he was gonna, going back to church and stuff too. But it wasn't the same. But
Gotcha.
there was this cute guy at church that was willing to answer all my questions. So I would
There
talk
you
to
go.
him.
Right.
And other people. That was really nice that everybody was nice to me because that does make a
Right.
difference for sure.
Yes.
But, the relationship with Bob, again, he was a perpetrator, 10 years older than me. But anyway, it wasn't good.
He was how many years older than
10
you?
years. So he was the
Okay,
youngest
so you were
perpetrator.
16,
Yeah.
but he was 26 at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 17, then he's 27. But
Got
Yep.
it.
there was a lot of control issues and just bad
Yeah.
stuff. And then one day I just I got the strength to just break up with him. Like we were arguing in the middle of the street, and he's like, "Whoa, you want to break up?" Because he would always like threaten that. Like that worked with me. I don't want to be alone
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just was like, "Yes, I do." And I just
Yes.
felt
No
like
doubt.
all this weight drop off of me, and like I wouldn't have had that strength without God, without the Spirit.
Okay.
And that was it. It was over. And I felt good. Now I'm single and just getting to know people that are healthy. They're not just trying to have sex with me, do drugs, control me. Is based on
Is this with the same church that
yeah,
Bob's family was going to?
yeah,
And
yeah,
are you still living at home with your
yeah,
parent, your mom?
yes.
How is she aligning with this new faith now?
She would constantly mock me. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was very anti-Christian. Even before that,
yeah.
where I'm just going along in life trying to just live and randomly she
Yeah.
would say kind of anti-Christ things.
Yeah.
And so, I would fast and pray and oh, the only reason that you might feel anything is because of your blood sugar or whatever. And Christ never said he was God. And just, I don't know, all kinds of like
Yeah. Yeah.
just a constant negative.
Gotcha.
And but regardless, I had a place to go. I was by the time
Yeah.
I was 18, I did meaning church and I went to work and I started martial arts. I actually started martial arts at 16 with Bob, but
Mm.
That's awesome.
he quit like randomly, like he was in charge, right? And
Right.
apparently when I went back, the no, I guess he told me. Anyway, he said that I look like a guy doing it. So that's why
Uh,
yeah, he quit. Anyway, so I went back and I kind of took that in a way as a compliment, but
yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know how
Yeah.
else. Yeah.
I'll take it.
whatever. But my instructor said that I was the hardest hitting female he's ever felt. I went back at 18. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. And so I
I'll
was
take
doing
it.
martial
Nice.
arts and I was working. I got my diploma, even though I really didn't earn it, but it made my life
Understood.
easier. And
Right.
then I'd go to church and there'd be activities and things. And so 18, I got baptized and I'm still living at home. But this guy
Mhm.
that, would always answer questions, we started dating. which he wasn't gonna date anybody under 18, which I really respected. Not that we had really talked about it before then, but
Yeah.
I kinda liked him. And anyway, he's my
Like,
husband
okay.
now.
Would
Oh,
say you kind of like him then.
well,
So
that's amazing. I
entering
like that
into
story.
now this healthy relationship, were there times where you were like your brain would still not fully in like accept, I guess, the normalcy of it?
Well,
Or were
it's
you
it
just like you were ready for something that felt this normal?
so so in my process of converting and really getting to know, like, I had never really read the Bible or talked with people about it, but I'd only heard negative from my mom, negative from my dad. They hated
Right.
people, hated gays and all these things. And my dad at this point had come out as gay. Before, like, when they divorced, he was had a girlfriend, but I don't think he really
Mhm,
did. And then he was bisexual and then he was gay, which I was fine with, like, no issues, but
mhm,
always kind of a negative comment about, not always, but sometimes negative comments about
Right.
Christians. Um, and so, but in the process, because I was still using drugs and alcohol during my,
Okay.
studying process, my kind of converting, my changing from just a mess of a life to
mhm,
Right.
what could be. And just for me personally, in my praying, I took it serious and my
Yeah.
studying, and I really tried to have faith and test it out. It was very clear to me that I could stay, on the path I'm on, which is doing drugs, and like my future was not bright. I was going to
Right.
end up being a prostitute and or just abused by someone and or drug overdose or combination. That was what was going to happen to me. But
I see.
but in this spiritual moment, I felt like the spirit telling me if I chose, to get baptized and do my best to live the commandments, then I would have something very different. But it wouldn't always be
mhm.
Yeah.
easy. But I mean, it
Yeah.
would be better, but it's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like I just knew I couldn't just sit back and, like, do nothing and everything would be fine. I didn't really fully comprehend
Yeah.
what the future would hold, but I wanted out. I wanted
Yeah.
freedom. I didn't want to be around perpetrators anymore, be involved in any of that, and I had no power on my own to quit
Right.
drugs,
Yeah.
alcohol, smoking,
Yeah.
make good decisions about people. Yeah. So I just trusted that, okay, I'm going to follow the commandments. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to learn and just keep trying.
Yeah.
So at that point, I was like on a spiritual high.
Mhm.
Like I was happy. I was just really happy. And even though I was still living at home
Yeah.
and people were
Yeah,
smoking
that's a lot.
around me and using
Yeah.
drugs and all that. And I just didn't anymore. It was a power beyond my own, definitely.
Yeah.
God gave me the strength.
How long did it take before you were able to was it getting married when you moved out from your mom's house, or was there a
It
point before
was.
then that you completely cut those ties kind of?
When I got married, I moved out and I got married at 19.
Okay.
And, it was traditional kind of setup, right? We
Yeah.
prepared for, the apartment and we went on our honeymoon and then came home together to the apartment. And
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it felt very nice, very natural, very comfortable.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. So now we've moved into this new phase of your life, but that other portion of your life still kind of keeps coming up because there's courts and there's additional contact with law enforcement and things like that. First, can you tell me a little bit about those things now that you're an adult? How were those experiences as an adult dealing with law enforcement and the court system and having to navigate this?
Yeah, well, no, I'll just say really quick that,
Sure.
people have to have defense mechanisms to survive their childhoods, and depending on their childhood and their own talents or skills, their own defense mechanisms, there's very lot of similarity and overlap. But I didn't really think much about my childhood. In a way I did, but in a way I didn't. But
Hmm.
but
Mhm.
once I had my first baby, I had major depression. That major depression hit me. And that's when I
I
started to
see.
go to therapy and just tried to
I
figure
see.
it all out. But I had major depression hit me. And I did not understand that, having a baby's a big trigger for trauma. Also, I didn't have any support from my family.
Right.
Nobody was like offering to help me or um,
Yeah.
so I did start to do therapy, and I just really was overwhelmed with the level of depression and overwhelm. And I started to put two and two together that it really was highly correlated to my childhood, that I still had faith. And so I started journaling because I was told to journal by this one therapist that he was fairly, trauma informed during the time. And I didn't want
Right.
to, but I didn't know what else to do with my feelings. I was ready to
Yeah.
relapse. I started doing 12 steps and I didn't though. But anyway, so I would journal anytime I had a big emotion, and that really saved me. I confronted the abusers I could. My father, I was confronting him. Where are you? You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
why
It's a great
why
question.
why don't you care? But I was just telling him about actually all that I had been through. I was just
Yeah.
writing it all down, and he said, "Oh, you had quite an extensive sex life." And
This is your dad?
yeah,
This
Your
is what
dad
your
said this
dad
to you?
said?
yeah.
Okay.
And
All right.
so I'm just like kind of standing, like, there's always a part of me that I wants to like punch someone in the face, which
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I respect that part.
I
Fair.
think you're justified. I
You
think
have
you're
to
justified.
respect that part.
Yeah.
I didn't though, but I'm just standing there looking at him. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
said, "And children don't remember before the age of 3." And I was like, I didn't say anything about anything before the age of 3.
Oh, that's
Uh,
interesting.
Yeah.
He
He
just
just threw that out there.
That just randomly popped out. And so anyway, for the sake of time, I later learned from my brother that he had molested my brother.
Your dad
Oh,
did?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I just didn't think he was probably a good influence anyway to be around. However, I wasn't at that point to cut my parents out. It was still unfolding. It's hard to explain because looking back now,
right.
obviously they were abusers and harmful to me, and I shouldn't have my children around them. But I did never leave my children alone.
Right.
With
But they were
them?
your parents, and I think we have especially when we have our own kids, we have a view of what we hope our parents are gonna be like. So I get where you're coming from, that you hadn't cut them out of your life because they're your parents.
Yeah.
And what's one of the commandments? Honor your mother and father.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I was really conflicted. And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
you guys know who Dr. Laura Schlesinger? No?
You're dropping names on us I've never heard, but
Dr.
I've
Laura?
been looking
No?
them up.
Okay. Because you guys are East Coast. Okay. Well, in
Yeah, I'm not
Texas,
in that world. I'm not in that world.
okay, it's all right. She's actually still got I think a nationwide talk show, but on the Sirius XM or something. But
Okay.
she was on local radio in California as she's controversial too, but she's not a psychologist, but I don't think. Anyway, she has a PhD, but she gives advice and she's
There
kind
you
of
go.
hardcore. And
Okay.
at the time, she was like sick of hearing people talk about being abused. You need to suck it up. But also, she had good advice too.
Okay.
She was kind of
Mhm.
like a double edged. I was a little scared, but I was so insecure. And she's Jewish, and so she has that Judeo-Christian Ten Commandment approach. So
Mhm.
I felt I needed, validation from someone else. I was really confused.
Right.
So I called her and I got on the radio. And I was talking to the screener, and I was like so unable to articulate very well. But I wanted to
Mhm.
know if I was abused or not, or what to do with my parents. How do I
Yeah.
Right.
and so whatever I said to the screener put me on with Dr. Laura. We're on the air, and she's like, "So you said you were abused, basically?" And I said, "Well,
Yeah.
like I'm really just I want to say mealy mouthed, but I don't really like that term. But I don't know. I couldn't quite articulate. I said something like just from a very like weak, sad place, like my mom and her boyfriend, they in bed and anyway, she kind of interrupted me and she said, "Your mom and her boyfriend had sex with you," or something like that. And I said,
Mhm.
I had never had it put like that or articulated, and I
Mhm.
Right.
was thinking about it, like, what to say to that, and before I had a chance, she said, "Well, as far as I'm concerned, they tore up their parenting cards."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, I agree. wholeheartedly, but
Yeah.
okay. She
Right.
just said it like that. Okay.
Yeah.
I
And
like it.
that was super validating, but then I didn't get to say anything more. I was off.
Yeah.
So I felt
Yeah.
shook
Yeah,
up, but
radio
also
shows.
like it was a good thing, but also not. But then she played Pat Benatar's Hell is for Children, and just
Okay. I see what you're saying. It's a little controversial. Got it.
A little controversial. I can see that.
yeah, so that's a risk. But anyway, it ended up validating me.
Yep.
Right.
It got me thinking more about that. And still, it took until my 30s before I did cut my parents out. But I
But
guess you're
you know what's so
asking me.
fun? It's not funny, but when you said something, I wrote it down that wouldn't have crossed my mind that someone in your that had your experiences. It makes sense now, but someone not having those experiences, it would have never crossed my mind. But when you said, "What do I do with my parents?"
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're your parents, and what do you do? It's very easy for people that have not experienced, have not gone through all of these things that, like we were saying in our part one, the grooming and all these things that happen. It's just such a holistic, like mind, body, and spirit thing that occurs to you. And now later on in life, it's the same thing. It's mind, body, and spirit. How do you reconcile all of those things to say, what do I do with these people that are in my life as my parents?
Right.
Yeah.
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 And and I was kind of going by the theory too for a long time in my life that if they just could understand what I'm trying to say, or if we could just get
Yeah.
some good communication, then
Yeah.
it would be fine. But now I know you can't change people. You could be the best communicator. Your feelings are completely valid. If they're whatever you
Yeah.
want to call them, narcissistic or pedophiles or, people that aren't
Yeah.
open to, feedback, toxic, abusive. They're just it's not anything you can do about it other than set boundaries and protect yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And your
Huge.
children, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's a,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, you got this. I'm kind of quiet, and I'm just listening. It's just hard for me to fathom what you're talking about. I'm a father as well, and I mean, I'm on a different side of what you're talking about. It's just I don't know what I would do either because I get what you're saying. They are your parents, but here you are. You have your children, and you have this family, and you're trying to process everything that happened to. It's just so much going on, while also living your own life, being a wife to your husband, being a mother to. I mean, and then
Yeah.
you said you were working at that point.
No,
Okay.
no, not
Sorry.
once I
Okay.
had my son.
Maybe I'm fast forwarding because you've been a therapist for 16 years. So were you able to stay home with because you have 3 children, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, my husband was the main provider, but I ended up doing a little bit of daycare here, a little bit of janitor work there, and I had a newspaper route another time. I delivered some pizzas sometimes, and sometimes he would be getting a side job. So that's the way we lived for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wasn't gonna put
Love
my
it.
kids in daycare.
I,
I mean,
Respect.
yeah, I don't know how you didn't keep your kids locked in the house 24 hours a day. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's hard for me to fathom
Yeah.
the process that you went through
yeah,
in raising them.
it's okay to laugh.
Nothing but respect from me. So
Yeah, and I mean, even people at church like, "Oh, can I hold your baby?" It's like, why?
why? Listen. So, there's a little commonality here because
Yeah.
prior to getting to law enforcement, my view of everyday people was very different than when I became a cop. I'm trying to articulate my words here. You start to see, because you go to so many domestics and violent crimes and, horrible things that happen. So now it's like anybody and everyone is a potential suspect at any time, and you don't know how fast it can be. I've never honestly until this moment right now here talking to you, here you were victimized. You are thinking of people in the same exact way,
100%.
just from a different lens. And it's an interesting connection there.
Well,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
at the time, I feel like not that I'm not guided by the spirit now, but I was still really, really a lot more way affected. I was going to say screwed up, but I mean that with
Hmm.
compassion,
I
Right.
understand. Yeah.
than I am now. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Yeah. All right.
I felt like the spirit really guided me in a lot of ways that I couldn't even fully articulate. That even a
Hmm.
part of me was still like, what happened? Or, like it's hard
Yeah.
to explain, but the spirit was
Yeah.
there saying, be careful. And so what a lot of people don't know unless they've experienced it in one way or another, unless they just have a gift of really understanding or believing, is literally perpetrators, prolific child offenders, pedophiles.
Mhm,
They come off like so nice. They're such a
mhm,
great coach or teacher, and, my
Mhm.
dad was a high school teacher, and they position themselves and kids, and they're nice to everyone, and they take their time, and they find
Mhm.
the ones they can groom, and then they make their move, and no, and that's why so many kids aren't believed. "No, what? Joe the coach?
Right.
No. He's
mhm.
great,
Mhm.
like, he did my roof for me, and he did this, and little Johnny or little Sally, they are some what? It's anyway, it's insidious, yeah, and people
Yeah.
yeah, you just have to
No,
be
And
careful
they
and spending
overlook
the
them.
night at people's houses.
yeah, that's what. So Mo understands, and between the two of us, so we've probably arrested a lot of them. I've been a part of a lot of those things.
Yeah.
It's never the ones you think, and
Never.
it's just always like when you put those handcuffs on and you're there, everyone's just like, what's it's like the nice neighborhoods. They have a
Always.
full time. It's always like that. It's not whatever you think they
People,
are or
they
look
don't
like.
look
It's
like
not that.
monsters
No, they don't. And even the victims,
Sometimes.
they're kind of like they feel bad that they're telling on
sometimes.
them or something. Yeah.
Right.
No, fair enough. But like even the victims sometimes will feel bad that they're doing this. Like somebody, like they're like, I know this is wrong. I just don't know why I feel bad. He's actually a really nice guy or girl, whatever. There's
Yeah.
both, but
Right. But kids inherently know to some
yeah.
level they're not gonna be well, it's gonna rock everyone's world to the ground.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
And maybe they would
And it should.
just keep that secret. Yeah, but for kids, they
Right.
feel like
Yeah. It's,
It's
they're doing
scary.
something really bad. And
yeah.
also, why, you're gonna get the why didn't you say no? Or you did, why didn't you scream?
Mhm.
Or
Right.
why didn't
Yeah.
you this or that? Or, lack of understanding. And I know
Yeah.
personally people that came out as children and told on their perpetrator and then
Mhm.
recounted because it
Yeah.
was easier to live their lives with their families.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's so
I get you.
sad to hear that. I understand what you're saying, but gosh, what a sad existence for that child to just carry the weight of that with them because they just didn't think people would believe them or they didn't want to disrupt their family or whatever their reasoning. That's just so sad to think.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least I don't want to rush or push you in any way, but I do want to leave room for the other aspects of the conversation because again, there's it's all valuable information and it could be helpful to not
Yeah.
only victims but also law enforcement professionals. I mean, at this point now, parents, I'm
Yeah.
thinking as taking myself just as a father, and I'm like, it puts a new perspective on when you're talking to your kids.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
as you moved into adulthood, there were some things I know that you had some interactions with law enforcement along the way because of court and things like that. Can you elaborate on that and explain some of those interactions? Because I really want us to discuss that because I feel like these are things that could potentially happen now, and I think it's something that needs to be said so that
Mhm.
we don't.
Yeah. So just you can see that I'm a young mom that's struggling with major depression,
Right.
anxiety, scraping, journaling, doing my best to, my goal is to be a good mom. And
Yeah.
then, so I was probably, was I 23? I think when out of the blue, I get contacted from Orange County District Attorney's Office. Um,
Mhm.
and so I talked to him on the phone, and basically they asked if I would testify on behalf of Don Gordon's latest victim. And
Okay.
so
Okay.
I was 13 when he got imprisoned, and they never told me
Mhm.
or that I had any rights. I don't even know if I did then, but when he got out or anything, okay. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm 23. It's been 10 years.
Right.
And so, and yeah, why wouldn't I help another victim?
Yeah.
Right.
So that was basically when you're asked to do something like that, it's a trigger. Okay, it's a trigger. And I didn't
Of
fully
course.
understand that at the time.
Yeah.
And they didn't
Right.
apparently understand, given the benefit of the doubt, but there's no offer of help or support. And then they're like, yeah, you're going to testify. And then And then they're like, "Oh, he pled. You don't need to testify." And
Yeah, but
so,
they got you all worked up, and then they were
yeah,
like, "Ah, now we're good. We don't need you anymore."
yeah. And
Just so you know, there are victim rights now, and there's victim advocacy groups, and there's victim witness coordinators. Like, it's a whole thing now.
yeah,
I can't
supposed
speak
to
for back
be.
then.
I'm sure
Yeah,
there's some good
for
ones,
sure. I hope so.
of course, but
Of course.
of course there's some good ones, but my
Yeah.
Yeah.
experience wasn't good
Was
Nope.
not.
later on.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
So then, I have to deal with the aftermath, and I still don't even fully understand. I don't have a therapist saying, "Well, what happened is your trigger, it's trauma and
Yeah.
whatever." So I have to figure out.
Question on that real quick, Lisa. With you not even knowing he was out, one of the things I've listened when you've been talking, it seems like information is very key for victims. So them not even notifying you that he was out, for you to hear that there's another victim, was that the part that kind of triggered you and re-traumatized you almost, to know that he's back out doing the same thing? Or was it more personal that, will he now come hurt me?
I guess it was both. I guess I wouldn't say I was surprised necessarily that he was,
Mm.
molesting again, but all of that crossed my mind. And
Okay.
then, of course, then I wanted to help. And Jody was involved.
Again?
Again, really?
Well,
Well, I don't know why I said that surprisingly. Okay.
what happened
I
is
don't know.
they got married after they got busted for me and whatever other girls. So then they couldn't testify against each other, right?
Yep.
Some sort of,
Ah,
I saw that coming.
okay.
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they're still together at that time. And now he's dead. But anyway, so,
That's a plus.
Mm. Yeah.
but, it's between him and God, eternal justice, eternal mercy. But
Absolutely.
so I'm just left with the aftermath. And so then I'm going on with my life, trying to just, still do martial arts, try to be a good mom, whatever. We're figuring out life. And we ended up moving to the high desert of California out of Riverside. I heard some things and I went to some groups, like sexual abuse recovery groups, or whatever. Like, you can't just run away from your problems. Doing a geographic doesn't, help necessarily, because there you are. But actually, sometimes it's a good thing. Riverside was a very depressing place for me. It's like, oh, in that corner and that corner and that happened there. And it
Yeah.
was like a constant trigger. And we had friends
Got
that
it.
moved up to the high desert. So we moved up there. And in general, it was good, but life is up and down. And it's just to get
Yeah.
to the police part or whatever. We
Mhm.
lived in Adelanto for a while. And then we moved to Apple Valley. We bought a house in Apple Valley. Literally
Okay.
the day after we moved in, I went to the grocery store and I saw Jody.
Wow.
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 And this
Um,
is quite a distance. I'm not from
okay, so at this
California, so
point,
just
I'm
it's
sorry, I'm
quite a
at 30.
distance.
So yeah, Apple Valley, well, it's 100 miles inland from LA, but
Oh, wow.
Santa Ana's Orange County. It's probably about the same distance where the
Okay.
abuse occurred, where Orange County is.
So in your mind, this is not something you would have ever expected, and
Never,
obviously a
but yeah, this
trigger.
is like 10 years later after that first contact. And so at this
Yeah.
Okay.
point, I mean, I see her. So I guess, to be fair, I recontacted them. But I have 3 children now. My youngest is with me, the other 2 in school. It's like right before Halloween. I just bought this giant pumpkin on discount. I love pumpkins. And but I'm in the parking lot. I would not miss her. And I just
Mhm.
like,
Right.
what do I do? What do
Yeah.
I do? So I just wait for her, you know, to come back
Yeah.
out. And then I just followed her. But because I don't know. I don't know. I
Mhm.
felt like, oh my gosh, is she a neighbor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I move near her? Um, so anyway, I couldn't keep up with her. She was driving me crazy and I didn't know the streets.
Yeah.
So, but I had remembered hearing about Megan's Law.
Okay.
So at the
Uh-huh.
time, Megan's Law was you go into the sheriff's department and they
Uh-huh.
don't give the address. They just give like a zip code or something. So, but I remembered that she was supposed to be a registered sex offender. So I went
Mhm.
into
Ah,
the
yeah.
local sheriff's department. I told them the situation and they're looking up her name, Jody Jones, Jody Gordon. Oh, they couldn't find her. And I said, she's supposed to be a registered sex offender. From my case, what, 20
Yeah.
years ago at this point? No, we don't find her. I'm like, well, she molested me along with this guy, Don Gordon. Don Gordon. They didn't find Don Gordon. At the time, you had to have the exact name. I'm like, okay, Donald?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Donald Gordon. And they're like, oh. And she kind of looks at me like, where did you live? And where do you live now? And
Yeah.
has this concerned look and says, okay, have a seat. Or I was probably already sitting down, or come back here. And
Yeah.
so what happened is he had been paroled to Adelanto, where I was living. Now, Adelanto, just living. Now I had just moved to Apple Valley, but Adelanto,
Yeah.
is jokingly or truthfully called the armpit of the high desert. And the high desert's kind of an armpit itself.
Yeah.
Understood.
But there's lots of good there, and the sky is always clear. Anyway, but it's a little small town. That would be a place that Orange County would want to get rid of their high-risk sex offenders. Oh, because I was
Got
listening to
it.
the radio again, and actually, I don't know if the census was around this time, but I worked for the census too, in the middle of the desert. But I heard on the radio I thought I heard Don Gordon and some other guy's name, paroled into Santa Ana, high-risk sex offenders. The neighborhood did a neighborhood notification and want them there. And so I called
Yeah.
the radio station. I'm like, did you say Don Gordon? Like, I left a message
Yeah.
because it's a radio. I couldn't rewind or anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody responded. So I'm like, whatever. It is what it is. Whatever. Because at this
Yeah.
point, well, yeah, I'm 33. So that's out of my head. But then I run into Jody, blah, blah, blah. I'm at the sheriff's
Yeah.
station. Then I find out he was paroled to Adelanto. And now at the time, one of my
Mm.
sons was still in soccer there. And we had been living
Oh,
there.
wow.
I don't know how
Yeah.
long he had been there. And my mind does start to go, did he know I was there? Did he
Right.
know I have
Yeah.
kids?
Right.
The photographer. I mean, if
How
he's involved with
scary.
people like the photographer, I don't know.
Yeah.
How low does evil
Yeah.
go, right? I mean, there's
Mm.
no limits, but I'm the crazy one for thinking that way, apparently.
No, you're
No,
not.
you're not. No, you're not.
I appreciate that.
No, you're not.
So, what happened is the lady was nice, the sheriff's office, and said, well, I'll have his parole officer contact you. And then they're going to look into
Okay.
the situation with Jody. And so finally the parole officer contacts me, comes to my house, and he has the right to search Don Gordon or anybody else at any time he wants for any reason, no reason needed at all. I said, could you
Yep.
please just search him just on the off chance? Because I have to apologize and everything, right? On the off chance he has a picture of me or my kids or has any knowledge, just please. Yeah, okay. I'll do that. But in the meantime, now I was going to Adelanto police, which, apparently they were so corrupt, the sheriff ended up taking him over. But I went in, I said, I
Mm.
want to do a neighborhood notification. You have a high-risk sex offender here. I want to do a neighborhood notification. They did it in Santa Ana, because like
Yeah.
I'm a fighter. Okay. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
my energy has to
Absolutely.
go somewhere. They just treated me like crap, ho-hum, roll their eyes, come back tomorrow. Just like it was just a nightmare trying to get that going. And then the
Right.
parole
That's
officer
so wild.
comes to my house. He's like, why didn't you tell us where you lived?
Wait, the parole?
Yeah.
The parole officer asked you why you didn't tell them?
Yeah, because
Okay. All right.
he said that they're not high-risk sex offenders not supposed to be within 25 miles of their victim, paroled within 25 miles.
Yeah, but how would you know that? Nobody told you.
Exactly. Like nobody
Anyway,
ever
no,
told me anything.
I get it. That's just all
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I
You
had
were
no
supposed to
idea.
tell me or reach out to me.
Yeah.
That's their job. Anyway.
So, but basically, that's how that went. He said he was going to search him. I'm waiting for the answer.
Yeah.
Waiting for the answer.
Right.
So finally I called him. I don't know if it was a week or 3 weeks or whatever, but I'm triggered, by the way. Also,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
and I said, so, did you search Don? And he's like, no. I'm like, well, by this point, he probably knows something's up. I don't know if he knows it's me, whatever. They have to
Yeah.
move him. So they're all annoyed by that. They have to move him. And, I've thought about this many times through the years. It's like almost would be better if he would have just said, yeah, didn't find anything. and lied, but
Yeah.
I don't recommend lying, you know. However, he
I get what
just
you're saying. I
I
understand what
get
you're
it.
saying.
yeah,
No.
but
Yeah.
he said, "No, I didn't." And I don't know if I started crying or probably. I'm sure I was crying. And I'm like, "But you said, you know, and I just needed to know." And you know, all these like the photographer or Glenn or
Mm-hmm.
what could happen or what if he knows it. I don't know. I just wanted a little bit of reassurance. And so,
Yeah. If you say you're going to do something, you should do it
yeah,
anyway, especially from a place of authority, and you have the right to.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Anyway, yeah.
so the call didn't go well. So I'm like, I want to talk to your boss.
Good.
So I get a hold of his boss. I'm probably crying, telling him the story. And he's like, you know, you need therapy.
Okay.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
wild. This is wild. But okay.
That's
I
why I
don't know
said
that
these are
I
things
said
that could
this,
still happen.
Yeah. That's
but
a wild way to treat a victim.
I thought so. I mean, I don't know that I said no shit, but you can cross out the shit part if you don't want to leave it. But
No,
That's
that's
fine.
fine.
but first off, that's very condescending and very rude.
Yes.
Secondly,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't or would not appreciate a good therapist, but what does that
Yeah.
have to do with you guys being really bad at your job and
Yeah.
just
Correct.
you
Correct.
can't deal with victims or what? Anyway, so that
Right.
that completely triggered me. I'm trying to still live my life. I'm in school
Yeah.
at this point. Okay. I do take one class at a time for the most, you know, along with like a little part time work here and there
Mm-hmm.
because I had decided I was going to become a therapist. I figured at least
Okay.
I can validate people and be nice.
Yeah.
I get it.
If you can't find
And
a
be
good
nice.
therapist, I'm going to go to school to become one and get
I'm
educated
gonna
by
be
him.
one.
And I'm like, you know what? One class at a time. That's what I can do right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, my the Victor Valley Community College was by Jody's house. So what happened with that is a
So
random
crazy.
parole officer broke the rules out of compassion. He was an angel, called and left a message on my machine and said her address, which was against
Oh.
Megan's law. But I don't know. I probably called in San Bernardino, wherever. I don't know. But this guy called and left her address. So I was like,
Yeah.
wow. So
Yeah.
she lived really close to the college I was going to. And I'll just
Mm-hmm.
say
Okay.
I did circle it a few times. That whole, I don't know, for years, 5, um, I'm not sure how many years, 3 to 5. I literally would run into her in Walmart at the doctor's
Oh
Did
office.
she
my
recognize
goodness.
you, or you just saw
I was
her?
always dodging. If she did, she didn't say anything.
Got it.
Okay.
I did. That's a whole nother story. Run into her once in Riverside, but it's like, why? I don't even run into my next door neighbor anywhere. I keep running into her. She
Yeah.
lives by the college, which is like a 20-minute drive from my house.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so they said that she didn't know that she was supposed to be a registered sex offender. I'm like, please.
Really?
Yeah. And so they were like,
Lisa,
I'm
this
like,
is all bullshit, by the way.
yeah.
This is all bullshit.
I told them first off, she wasn't just in the kitchen baking cookies and didn't know what was going
Yeah.
on. And
Right.
also she was involved with that second victim, but the victim never
Mm-hmm.
apparently said anything or that she never came up in that case. But California had 3 strikes, at least at the time, that she should have had 3 strikes.
Yeah.
Right.
With because what ended up happening, I'm just fast forward through that. She on her own, which by the way, they're all acting like Jody and Dawn aren't interacting with each other. I'm like, well, why is she in the high desert?
Yeah. Why are they living next to each other?
I
Right.
mean,
Yeah.
Adelanto, Victorville, they're not in the same house, but
I get what you're
Pretty
saying.
close.
Yeah,
whatever.
it's ridiculous.
I said she's gonna
Yeah.
perpetrate on her own, and she did.
Oh.
Oh,
She actually
okay.
did on
Really?
Megan's Law because nobody would tell me that, of course. And
Right.
So
she, on her own, had sex with a teenager charge. And then that should have been her 3rd strike. But,
Wow.
yeah.
you know, anyway, I felt bad about that, guilty, angry, rage, whatever.
You, because there was another victim, you felt some.
I mean, a little
You said you
bit.
felt
I
bad and yeah.
just to be real, I felt like
Yes,
I was going to lose my mind sometimes. And I
I got
considered
it.
killing her.
Yeah,
I don't know that
I get it.
seriously, but a
Mm,
little bit.
I get it.
But sometimes you
I
get,
think I would have seriously considered it.
I wanted to go up to my perpetrators as an adult.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
what?
yeah,
Now what do you have
Yeah.
to say? Especially her.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
And I was having a really hard time emotionally. It was affecting my family.
Right.
I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm sick
Yeah.
of this. I called
Yeah.
my husband once. I'm driving by our house. I'm going to do it. I'm no good to you guys. I'll go to jail. You can move on.
Yeah.
But
That's
I didn't.
where when we talk about what happens to kids and they, like you said, the one therapist was like, people need to get over it, this and the other. You don't realize the impact that is lifelong for these victims.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you sharing that piece because it at 33 years old, you're still impacted, you're still triggered, you're still having all of these visceral emotions that come from something that happened when you were a 5-year-old, and there is no getting over it. So thank you for
Well,
sharing that part.
yeah, and it sounds like a lot of this could have uh, not to step in place of a therapist, but a lot of this could have been if law enforcement and the parole people and probation would have just been listen to you. I mean, again, I would check and confirm, listen but confirm. Oh yeah, this is they just need to do their job. It wouldn't put you in that position to do these things.
Yeah, just a
Right.
And
little
they're
compassion. If you make a mistake,
them
I'm
being
so
dismissive
sorry.
of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so sorry this happened. We're going to fix it right now. And
Yeah.
who gives a shit if he's inconvenienced, he has to move somewhere else? Who gives a shit?
But they told me
In
that.
my opinion.
Now we have to move him. Because, Orange
So what?
County and places that have money or whatever, putting them in like the high
They don't want him there.
desert
Yeah.
and so yeah. But
That's
anyway,
their job, not yours. Here
Right.
you're like a one man, you're like a one woman army having to go up against all these authoritative figures that are supposed to be protecting and
we're supposed to be on the same team.
yeah, and I'm trying not to get too critical because I don't know what the rules and laws are back then. I don't know. I can only speak from the here and now, but all of these things are whether or not they're automated, but they're victims are supposed to know, and it's their job. And I'm not saying mistakes don't happen; they do. But once they're acknowledged, they're supposed to be corrected immediately. And again, I'm
Right.
sure there's time frames and certain whatever, but all this dismissive, pissy attitude towards you is irritating me.
Appreciate that.
Anyway, you're not crazy. You had
I was
the
gonna say
exactly
that's
right
how they treat
instincts.
me. I'm crazy. Like I'll show
That's
you
you
I'm
had the exact
crazy.
right instincts, and you're like, I'm trying to protect because not only yourself, but you're like, I'm trying to protect my children.
Yeah.
And now I'm
Yeah.
like I always wanted to be a good mom, but
Yeah.
it's really
Yeah.
hard to be a healthy, regulated parent when you're triggered all the time.
Right.
And
Right.
people that are supposed to help you are not helping you. And again, I'm not advocating that law enforcement should act as therapists by any stretch of the imagination, but just do your job.
Yeah,
Protect the
just
people
some
who need to be protected.
compassion.
Well, I don't know what.
If you
And
don't
if the
understand,
suspect and
mind.
yeah, if the burden's on it, who gives a shit? They're the ones that did the wrong thing.
Right.
Okay, well, you need to move. It doesn't matter. Figure it
Simple
out.
as that.
I don't care.
I don't
It's
know.
that simple.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. That's my little diatribe.
No, I really appreciate that. Because I certainly wasn't hearing that. Although, like again, there was that one guy, I don't know, parole officer or sheriff that gave me her address, which I did see her in her home, and I had even fantasies like of rage of how I would do it. But as long as it stays a
Yeah.
fantasy and you move on, then that's where you put the rage. But I didn't.
Right.
Yeah,
And
I probably wouldn't journal that just in case.
I put it. I'm putting it in my book, and
Okay.
because
Well, maybe not
that's
like the details. That's all I'm saying. To leave the details out.
I have to tell you that. But I had similar rage. Fantasy maybe sounds like a good thing, but it's not.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Like with my
Yeah, we
father too,
understand.
my mother, just people that wouldn't hear me or like abuse me and then like just keep discounting me. And anyway, I'm okay, but that's where I was at the time. And I just kept praying
Right.
though for help to do the right thing. Like, okay, well, I'm not supposed to kill people. It's a commandment. So I'm going to trust
Yes.
that. But all of the Christian kind of scaffolding really helped me
Yeah.
make
Right.
good decisions, as good as I
Yeah,
could.
and
Right.
I'm sorry. let me just say, just to be clear, I'm not advocating for anyone to kill somebody. That's not what I'm saying. I am validating and understanding why you felt that way. Also, just me talking to you, I'm glad you have 3 beautiful children. I don't grandchildren. It's not worth it. They're not worth it. But also, it's still irritating me a little bit that you were put in that position over and over and over again
Yeah.
with little to no compassion or understanding where you might be coming from, and to be just dismissed like that is disappointing to hear. It's
Yeah.
not supposed to be that way. And that parole officer that gave you her address, there are good men and women who want to do this job, and they'll just, if it's a stupid rule, they'll bump it even at their own detriment sometimes. But it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't always fall on deaf ears. They just have to figure out a way around it. I
Yeah.
operated in the gray for a very long time. That's why my supervisors didn't like me. Because if something's wrong, it's wrong, and I don't give a shit. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out a way to deal
Yeah.
with this issue. Mo's laughing, she knows. But anyway, back on track.
Yeah.
Apologies.
I
Yeah.
appreciate the
It's
validation.
I appreciate you sharing this because I don't think people get to hear this enough.
No.
And I think if
Yeah.
people feel too like burdened, what do I do now? There's so much emotion. Or I'm just imagining the parole officer. He doesn't know what to do. Just listen and apologize and,
Mhm.
let it go. Like you do what you can if you're kind. And I don't know. I guess I
And
always think
hearing you
people feel so
talk,
burdened or something.
and it's not. It's I feel like this is law enforcement's a job, and those of us who sign up to do it, we know that there's a certain part of ourselves that we do have to pour into it, and that's the reality with it. But in hearing you talk, like I'm sitting here making notes when you were talking, I'm like, a victim needs information, a victim needs follow through, a
Yep.
victim needs compassion and kindness. Those are not 3 things that as law enforcement officers, number 1, are a part of our job, and number 2, should not be an 8 in what it is that we're doing, especially when dealing with victims.
Yeah.
So information follow through, compassion and kindness should be the foundation of our job, you know? So it shouldn't be that difficult. And the victim should never feel like, several times I heard you use the word like dealing with the aftermath. You shouldn't have to deal with the aftermath. The processes shouldn't be difficult for
Nope.
victims.
Nope.
If there's a process that didn't quite work right, we're not perfect, but I think victims understand that. But I think there should be fail safes to catch those victims and not just let them fall through the cracks.
Yeah. At least I just want to jump one thing, it kind of tying back into earlier when you're saying your mother forced you to go to court. I've been involved in court proceedings and sentencings and in cases similar in nature to what you've described. And in every single case, they would separate the child from the parents and then talk to them with an advocate. It's a process. And if the child doesn't want to be there, they're like, no, get out of here. The fact that your mom was like able to force you and nobody said anything is wild.
Yeah.
It's a hard line to follow, right? Parents should have discretion over their children, but when it comes to court settings and things like that, they don't always know best. And in your mom's case, you've described the reasons you felt like she did it, which I'm leaning towards agreeing just based on the totality of what you told us. But sometimes they just don't know what's best, and they're just trying to be a good parent. Let's just phrase it that way. But no way should anyone have allowed your mom to force you to do that. Is all I'm trying to articulate.
Yeah.
That's all.
And I think that's a process now that
Yep.
has been fixed. But there was another story that you shared with me, and this one really almost like took the wind out of my lungs when I heard the story, when you did eventually have to come to California and go to court. Can you share a little bit about that story, please?
Yeah, so I'll just say really quick. So what ended up happening with Don is he was paroled somewhere else, and that new parole officer was really nice, and he did say that he did find pornography on him or pictures. But I'm like, well, what pictures? Couldn't tell me, and so I don't know. But
Yeah.
that he was cocky, and anyway, he's putting them under civil commitment.
Okay.
Okay.
So you guys might know what that is, but a high risk.
I'm sorry. Do you mind articulate? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Do you mind explaining what that is?
Yeah, so I guess basically if a high risk sex offender is thought to, if the parole officer or whoever believes that they're going to reoffend, probably, at least in California, I'm sure other states have a civil commitment law where they can
Mm-hmm.
kind of force hospitalization on them. And
Mm-hmm.
so he
Oh,
went to a Tuscadero State Hospital, and I guess the program is set up. I did a little bit of research. Like, if you go in and you say, okay, yeah, I need help, I suppose that could look bad for your case. I think Don probably held out for a long time. So he's on the side that's not getting treatment, but he's not being let out, but he's maybe hoping the law is going to change and he could get out. This my guessing. I don't really know exactly what goes on, but he
Mhm.
was civilly committed. But then they are like,
Mhm.
testify for his civil commitment. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, okay. I said, but
Okay.
when?
Yeah.
We don't know. We don't know. I'm like, okay, well, I can't have a random contact again.
Yeah.
Right.
I
I
said,
need to
I
prepare for
can't,
that.
I need to, know. So at that time, we set up a monthly check in, and I'm probably the one that called them. I don't even remember. I don't think they
Yeah.
called me. Just checking on the case. No, there's nothing
Mhm.
upcoming. But eventually, I just let it go. I don't know if it was a year or 2 years or 6 months, but nothing was going on. I'm like, "Whatever, forget it. I'm moving on." The parole officer says, "Move on with your life, just move on, like, let
Yeah.
it go."
Yeah.
Say stuff. So I'm like, "I'm moving on. It's out," I don't know. I'm becoming a therapist, became a therapist, try you know, trying to live our best life, and, then eventually we moved out of state, from California to Arizona, and, so I was actually working in a child crisis at a child crisis agency, assessing children that had just been placed in DCS custody. Anyway, randomly, out of the blue, I'm 43. I
Another
This
now,
was a
10
long
years.
time ago.
we well, yeah,
Well, when it occurred is
yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah,
When the actual
Yeah.
yeah,
your
yeah,
interaction.
yeah. No, it's been now, how's it, how old am I? Anyway, I might have been older than 43. I think it was 2014. Anyway, I'm now in Arizona and not even thinking about like I, s-
Yeah.
if I get a California number, I used to think like a 951 number. I used to kind of get a little bit of a, you know, but I had
Yeah.
already
Right.
moved on past that. I didn't even think about it because
Right.
sometimes I get 951 spam calls, and anyway, so this day I see 951 calling me. I don't think about it. I go to pay for my gas. I'm at the gas station. Now we're reliant on my full-time income. Before we
Yeah.
always tried to be reliant on one full-time income, but now I'm like,
Right.
I'm fully in it, which was big
Yeah.
progress for me in the sense of being able to work a full-time job.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
For sure.
Just saying, like, anxiety-wise and all that. But
Right.
so I come back out, I'm listening to the voicemail. It's Orange County. An
Mm.
investigator is contacting me to testify in Don Gordon's civil commitment trial.
That's so
No heads
wild.
up.
Yeah,
Again, information not provided.
Yeah.
yeah. And then it's like,
Also, yeah.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just
No,
like
I'm sorry.
I called him back. I'm like, how did you find me?
Yeah.
Not that he would tell me. Oh,
Right.
Right.
like why? Why can't you tell me? Probably maybe
Yeah.
it wasn't too hard. I don't know. But
There's
Yeah.
law enforcement databases
what were you gonna
for
say?
sure. It doesn't explain anything. But I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, it's all right. So that day, and he's like, "Will you testify?" And I'm just like, "Yeah," but I don't know how to say no.
Okay.
But it seems like I should. Like I want to
Right.
protect other children or whatever, even though he's old.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what? I mean, I would understand if you said no, but I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, victims have the right to do
Yeah.
what they want, right? But I didn't feel
Absolutely.
I could,
Yes.
like my own who I am. I don't know. Uh, I had to. I said yes, and he found out I was a therapist, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's great. We need like, a victim like you, whatever that like I can articulate or also has credibility because a lot of survivors, are drug addicts,
Yeah.
petty or criminal activity.
Mhm.
It's a horrible the way he phrased it, but I understand what you're saying. Yes,
Yeah.
he shouldn't have phrased it that way.
Yeah, but he did, and I got what he was saying, but then
Yep.
also I was like
Yeah.
simultaneously mad and then sad for it's not fair. Like victim credibility shouldn't be taken in. I don't know. I don't know. There's so many
Nope.
variables,
No,
You shouldn't.
right?
you're 100% right.
But and then also now there's the pressure on me. Like, wait, whoa,
Yeah.
just
Right.
because I'm a therapist. I don't know. I mean, you do want your therapist to have a certain level of sanity for sure. Um,
Yes, understood.
okay,
Fair
but
enough.
anyway, so I was completely distracted or triggered, and he's like, "Okay, I'll get back to you." And then I just go about my workday. But I was just like in flight or fight, just like really
Mhm.
like agitated. I'm like, when I go home, I can't lay down. I can't lay down. Like I just have to keep. I need to go for a walk and stuff. But once I got home, I just like collapsed on the bed, and
Yeah.
I was just like I couldn't get up, and so that just started a complete re-trigger. I completely
Mhm.
decompensated, and a lot of it did have to do with now, they asked me to find pictures of myself at the age that Don was abusing me, and it triggers me to go through old baby
Yeah.
books or pictures, and, I was completely vulnerable and messed up in my head, and I said, "Can you just, like, I emailed the picture. I said, "Oh, okay, it's gonna be really triggering for me, but okay." And I emailed him some pictures, and he didn't respond, and I said in an email, maybe a voicemail, "I'm really sorry. Not trying to be whatever. I just really need to know." I don't know.
Yeah.
I even said and he didn't respond. Finally, a few days later, he sent me an email, "Received." After I had voicemailed him and emailed him. And I'm like, I literally did try to say, I'm a therapist now and I've learned these skills and I know that your
Yeah.
job is stressful and I know blah, blah, blah. You're not necessarily trained. And like, I always think that I'm like way too much for people, apparently, and like, it's just so hard to talk to me. And I just need a little bit of validation, just like a thank you, whatever. And I could explain to you why. And, he had no response to me. And then he and so he's the investigator, which he's a peace officer,
Mhm.
right? He is off
Mhm.
the streets now doing investigation for the district attorney. So that him and
Mhm.
the assistant district attorney assigned to my case, set up a time, talk to me, whatever. And then it's a matter of waiting. So but at this point, I really am completely PTSD. I can't function. I'm not able to do
Mhm.
my job. And I lost it with my boss because I was calling out sick, calling out sick. She's like, "Lisa," and I told her what was going on and she had compassion, but then like it happened again and she's like, you can't keep doing this. And I told her to fuck off. She didn't deserve that, but
Right.
I thought my life is over. I'm ruined. I ruined my career. How can I be a
Yeah.
therapist?
Yeah, it's just like building upon itself now.
And so, and then I actually was in therapy at the time, but the
Mhm.
therapist did have some compassion for sure and tried to validate, but she didn't really help me regulate. And then I couldn't afford
Mhm.
it because I not getting paid now. I didn't get fired. I'm on medical leave basically, but I have no
Mhm.
income now. I
Yeah.
need my income.
Right.
Orange County District Attorney's victim um I blanking on the name.
Mhm.
Not victim witness.
The vic
Anyway, whatever. All the people in charge of that basically literally said to me, because I'm asking for help to pay for therapy.
Right.
Yeah.
That was 35 years ago. Why would you need therapy now? Oh, I guess because
Okay.
I'm a loser. I guess, I don't know.
That's such a wild, yeah.
And so anyway, then they decided that they wanted to fly me out to Orange County. We could drive there in 5, 6 hours. But, I said, "Well, can you find my husband too?" "Well, we'll see. We'll look into it." And it's like, whatever. That's literally how they
You're doing them a favor. Is really what you're doing them a favor, and that's how they
Yeah.
treat you. That's asinine.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
And so then, I did get contact from a victim advocate at some point. I don't even remember it. But, so then literally now we're living off of one income and this is not good for
Mhm.
our finances. And I said, well, and so they're paying for a flight, they're paying for our hotel. And I said, can we have like a food voucher? Not that I was even hungry at
Right.
the time. Like I couldn't even eat.
Right.
I'm like barely functioning here. Um,
Yeah.
and the guy's like, we're flying you. You got a hotel, whatever. So we didn't get a food voucher because that would have been, like, because apparently
Oh
I'm
my
just like
gosh.
milking the system for a vacation to stupid Fullerton, California, like orange. I always used
Lisa,
to refer to
for
orange.
for people who don't know, for people who don't know, we law enforcement and maybe Fed side, but when you have a witness, let alone a victim, you
Right.
fly them out, you
Mhm.
house them, they food, basically you accommodate whatever their needs are. Sometimes we have elderly individuals; they have to certain. It doesn't matter if you're needed for a case, whether it be criminal or civil. That is the obligation of the court. Period. The end. They have funding for that. It's a whole thing. But the fact that you're having to like
Ask for things
continuously,
is crazy.
it's not how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
A period. The end.
That was 2014. So I didn't ever get.
I got nothing for that time frame. They know better by then. So I got
Yeah.
nothing.
Yep.
And
I got nothing.
it's
I got nothing to
California, so
support that.
progressive, right? They're like on top of everything.
Well, that's another
That's
podcast. Never mind.
sarcasm.
That's a different show.
And anyway, we get flown out there, but this is like over 6 weeks, I guess. About finally, it actually happened, and we got flown out there, and so the investigator picks us up at the airport with the victim advocate, and I'm just like, I can't sugarcoat it. Okay, I'm like RBF.
Please don't.
I'm like,
Yeah.
As you should. This
basically,
is crazy, and you're still doing it though, which is
I'm just
kudos to
Commendable.
you. I've been like, screw you guys. You come to me then. Anyway,
I'm in a
sorry.
really
Keep
bad
interjecting.
mood. I've ruined my life. Never going to be a therapist again. I'm a total loser. I feel.
Right.
Yeah, I understand.
I was completely unprofessional with my boss. I don't know, but let's just get this done, And
Yeah.
so, I think the investigator recognized me probably, but I see this guy with a, badge with this girl and like kind of like a mini skirt, Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And
Okay.
she's like, and I don't even remember her name, but like, how's the weather there in Arizona? Is it hot? Like,
This is the victim
the
advocate?
victim advocate who's made no relationship with me because it was
Oh.
35 years ago. So, and
Okay.
I look at
she's
my
on this.
husband and I'm like, keep her away from me.
Yeah.
Fair.
For sure.
Keep her away from me.
Fair.
Yeah, because like I'm ready to the teenage Lisa wants to just fight. But
Right.
he was nice. He was professional, but we're in the car and she's just making this stupid small talk, kind of like in a flirty way. That was my impression. I'm like,
Right.
wow,
Not having it. Yeah.
really unprofessional and just stupid. And like putting down the weather in Arizona compared to California, just stupid. Anyway, so then they just take us to the court, blah, blah. And then I meet the assistant district attorney, whatever. That was all BS too. Like he handed me the police report. He's like, don't read this page. But after he had interviewed me and I had explained from my memory stuff, he's like, oh, you have a good memory. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, left the room, my husband and I in it with this police report. Don't read this page. So I read it,
Of course.
And then I don't know. He was just like excited about the case, I think. No compassion, really. Just like I feel like there was something I was going to say that popped out of my head. But basically, then I think her name. I think I remember her name now. Like I don't want her around.
Yeah.
I think I also told my husband, like, I want to punch her in the face. I think she kind of got the message, right? But then the guy took us back to the hotel. Well, we have family, my husband's family, some of his family, his brother in California. They came and picked us up and they took us out to dinner. And then we went to the beach.
Yeah.
And I could just like chill out on the beach. And then the next day we go back into court and the victim advocate, to her credit, said, I didn't make a relationship with you and I should have.
Fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
At
So
least she recognized it.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess.
So then, but the investigator was he was very professional and very kind. And, we end up, it's time to testify. I testify. Then it's lunch break, not done. So we go out to lunch. And it's almost like, he's afraid we're going to run or something.
Right.
Like they pick us up from the airport. We don't have a car. I don't know. But he's like, let
Yeah.
me take you out to lunch. But also it's a nice thing because we don't have a car. So anyway,
Yeah.
he's like, let's go out to lunch. But I didn't expect it. But he said, it's on me, I'm going to pay for your lunch. I'm like, really? Wow, that's really nice. But I felt like really empowered after I started to testify because I didn't really know. The DA's kind of like, if you cry, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can't speak on attorneys. They have their tricks, but
Yeah,
it is what
whatever,
it is.
right? But I had no idea how I was
Yeah.
gonna feel, but, it was always one of my biggest fears. I never wanted him to ever see me again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can get that.
So I go into court and I just sit down in the witness box or whatever, and he's, like, looking at me. He's, like, looking at me like, "Hey," kinda like that, and
Yeah.
I just stared at him. I just completely locked eyes until he looked away. And so I felt good about
Good.
that. And you could see his attorney
Yeah.
kinda like, "What are you doing?" And anyway,
Stop it.
I'm just, like, telling everything I can think of and whatever, and
Yeah.
I felt empowered. The, court reporter's like, "Are you okay? Here's some water." The jury's, like, looking horrified and
Hmm.
compassionate, and the judge was kind. Anyway, so we go to lunch, and then the investigator's like, "I'm gonna pay for your lunch, and you're doing really great." And I'm like, "Well, sure." And he's like, "Well, you can
Yeah.
take me out to lunch sometime," like, we're chatting it up, and everything is like, "Wow, okay." I'm like, "Oh, maybe this is gonna be okay." And we
Right.
go back, I finished my testimony. I felt they cut me off too short, but anyway, and then after that, I was able to watch the next victim's testimony.
Mm.
Anyway, I learned after the fact they had tried to discredit her. They didn't have I don't have a record, so
Yeah.
they couldn't find anything on me. But anyway, so that all went good. We fly home. I'm like, okay. But on the way back to the airport, I said Vula said, I don't know who said what first, but I'm like, we did it, and he's like, you did it. I said, no, we did it, like, thank you. This is better than I thought. I feel good. I stared at him, looked him down, and I was able to say all that stuff and watch him squirm, and I felt really supported. And
Hmm.
he's like, yeah, you know what? You should write a book. Out of the blue. I'm like, "Why? Why do you think that?" And he's like, Whatever." And then I said, "Well, if I write a book, will you read it?" And he said, "Well, if you sign it," and we're just like talking like
Yeah.
that. And anyway, so I said, "Hey, can you please just let me know when they go into deliberations? Because I'm going to need to be in a safe place.
Yeah.
And even if the verdict is what I would like, I'm going to need to be in a safe place for that too. Because everything is like triggering me, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so he's like, no problem. I'm going to do that." And so I'm back to work. I don't know. It really went on almost 2 weeks. It was like a long deliberation or other trials.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe it was 2 weeks, a week and a half. But
Mhm.
I get a call in the middle of my workday from the victim advocate who I don't like and don't have a
Right.
relationship with. And she
Right.
tells, she's like, "Hey, we got a verdict," on my voicemail. And I'm like, I'm in the middle of my workday.
Yeah.
And it's not the investigator, and they've already been
Hmm.
deliberating. I literally
Yep.
could have gone back if I wanted to hear the verdict in court. Nobody told me that.
Right.
I wanted
Yeah.
to. I think I
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I wasn't even given that as an option. We would have driven. We didn't have
Yeah.
to fly. But, so now I'm, like, triggered again, even though he was found it's not, like, guilty, it's true.
They're gonna keep them in. Yeah.
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 The true bill. Yeah.
It's true. He is a high-risk sex offender or sexually violent predator,
Yeah.
I guess. So I'm happy about that, but I'm completely, like, triggered, whatever. I have to go home. Again, I have to call my boss
Yep.
who took me back. I told her, "Look, I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that. I apologize." She's like, "It's all right."
Yeah.
She's a good boss. Anyway, so then I contacted the well, actually my boss encouraged me because I said, "Man, he didn't even tell me, he said he was going to,
Yeah.
like why?
Once again.
Why?"
Once again.
She's like, "Send him an email or call him or whatever." I did, call, text,
Yeah.
voicemail. I said, basically, "I wish you would have told me like you said you would." I
Yeah.
don't remember how I said it, but it wasn't like FF or anything. And
Yeah.
just responded with, "Don't contact me again."
This is the investigator that was very nice to you, took you out to lunch, encouraged you, validated you,
Mhm.
said you should write a book, said that he would contact you,
Yeah, we're
didn't
gonna go
contact
out
you,
to eat again or something.
and then you call him to kind of confront him about it. And he goes, "Don't ever call me again." Yep.
That's where I
Yeah.
said that.
So Mo told me that, and I was just like, I don't have any answers for that. I don't have an
No,
excuse or an answer for that. I can't. I've got nothing.
no. And the time frame on this one, it's not like it was. This is something that happened pretty recent, and it was just one of those things. Again, the needs of the victim. I don't mean to sound it's not hard. Provide information,
No.
follow through, and show some compassion
Yeah.
and kindness. And I think with compassion and kindness, even if you make a mistake, that's where the compassion, I'm sorry, I didn't call you. I didn't realize the importance of it. And one of the things that I gleaned from talking to Lisa about this was having an understanding of what is important to victims, because I think it's going to be unique based on each victim. So
For
ask them,
sure.
what is it that you need? This, I'm asking you to come out and testify. How can we make this easier for you? What would you need from us? That's easy, you know? So again, I thank you, Lisa, for sharing that part of the story, because I think these are parts that people gloss over because of the other
Mhm.
bigger parts, but it's so huge to understand. And the other thing, when you were talking, I didn't want to cut in on you, but you said I didn't feel like I could say no at any point when they were calling and asking you to come.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the things, again, as authority figures coming into a victim's life and having experienced this kind of victimization, we have to be careful, because the victim's perception of authority is going to be shaped based off of their experiences. And now we come in as an authority figure and say, I need you to do this. And this is somebody who doesn't know how to say no. And that's not, we have to be very careful with the phraseology of how we say things, and making sure that we do empower the victim to say, if you don't want to do this, it is okay. This case will be okay if you
Yeah.
don't want to do this, Lisa.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say, I feel like I need to just step on this for just a second, but it's paining me to hear your interactions with law enforcement and at the various levels that you did deal with, because I've known plenty of detectives and law enforcement professionals who have dealt with a child who suffered traumatically, whether it be a traumatic car crash or, whatever it is. It doesn't have to necessarily be the same story. And they're like, yeah, she calls me every year on the anniversary, and she has done that for the last 30 years, and I always pick up. That's
Yeah.
how it should be. I'm not saying everyone has to go above and beyond, but there should be some. I mean, we're calling it compassion, but professionalism to me
Yeah.
comes to mind. Listen, you have stepped into this person's life at a very traumatic moment, and you are that kind of safety net for all intents and purposes when they otherwise don't have one.
The hero.
Right? I mean, you took away the bad guy, and that means something. And not every person who has been victimized wants that or does that or needs that, but the ones that do, what does it actually cost you to just pick up that? You know what I mean? Like, there's no cost, for a few minutes of conversation, whatever it might be. I want to be respectful of your time, and I appreciate everything. I think whether you knew it or not, we've covered the majority of what we're going over, but I want to leave space for your book, change that. And I didn't know, but you explained it in the first part one at hashtag ban pretty baby campaign. Do you mind talking however you wish to choose in that whatever order?
All right. Well, I'll just start with hashtag bound pretty baby.
I didn't know what that was until you told the story.
Neither did
Yeah,
I.
before I went on, I saw, Brooke Shields is a trigger for me. So, and
Yeah.
I had tried to contact different various talk shows through the years. When I found out I have victim rights, when I
Mm-hmm.
researched, after 2014, they shouldn't have just been the investigator and the district attorney.
Mhm.
It should have been a victim or somebody that I wanted. Nobody could tell me anything about
Yes.
any of my rights. So I contacted Gloria
Yeah.
Allred. You know who she is.
I do know who that is.
Yes.
ACLU, the other
Yeah.
one. Nobody, crickets, nothing.
Yeah.
No response. Because I was like, I'm going to sue, because I'm like pissed, basically.
Yeah.
And nobody, anyway. So I feel like I just got off track from. Anyway, so Brooke Shields, I had tried to like contact her through the years, whatever, because anyway, nobody responds or whatever. But I saw her on the cover of People magazine,
Mhm.
and I'm
Right.
like, ugh. And I
Yeah.
am writing my book and it's almost done. And that was a re-trigger. And then a
Yeah.
client that I don't, talk to my clients about, although some of them do find out or know I have a video out there. But out of the blue said, you should watch this documentary. And I wasn't going to her documentary about Pretty Baby or titled
Mhm.
Pretty Baby. And long story short, I thought it was I would have done it differently. I thought it was
Mhm.
some of
Right.
it was not whatever the way I would put it. What I was looking for was for her to say, yeah, that was wrong. That film was wrong. And she never
Right.
did. And in her People magazine article, she says it was the best film she's ever made. And anyway, so all of that upset me. I got banned from her Instagram because like I thought, hey, I'm a child victim of, blah, 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 pretty big. Like I don't even know if she knows. She's gotta know. I don't know.
Right.
So I'm like, I have to do
Yeah.
something, right? I have to put the energy where it belongs.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, well, I'm starting a petition, which somebody has
Love it.
recently hacked my account. I need to figure out how to unhack it, but I think you can still sign the petition. But yeah, because of the Soft White Underbelly interview, it has a lot of views, way less signatures. But the point is to get the message out, right? And
Right.
so you can go to change.org, #ban Pretty Baby, and sign the petition. And at some point, I would love to have a conversation with Brooke Shields. I would love to get Pretty Baby banned. Why is it legal? It's child
Yeah.
pornography.
Why?
I want to
Yeah.
talk to the director now.
Yeah.
See, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But-
sorry. I understand what you're saying.
But,
What was the purpose behind directing a film like that?
oh,
That's
one of the
Hollywood.
justifications people use is that it's told the true story. Like, really? The true story is the 12-year-old was so happy with it and didn't affect her.
That's
Mhm.
not
And everything was
true.
great. And all the prostitutes, and everyone's
Yeah.
just happy. No,
That's not
No.
true.
that's not true.
No.
No. No. That's
Not at
not
all.
true.
So there's that. So the more signatures, the better. Advertising works, right? We need to get a hold of the narrative and let people know what's out there. Pedophiles, and they're like really convicted in what they do, movies they make, the stories they tell. And yeah, I'm writing a book, my memoir. When I first
Can you tell us do you have a title already, Lisa? Because I want to
I'm
plug
gonna
that. Put it out.
title it My Parents Were Pedophiles. After I finished the interview with Mark Glada on Soft White Underbelly,
Mhm.
where I'm like, well, what do we call it? And he's like, My Parents Were Pedophiles? I said, yeah,
Yeah.
or my pedophile
Yeah.
parents or something. Yeah. And so I was
Yeah.
gonna name it, I don't know. It's kind of hard to know what to name it or call the book, like
Mhm.
Burning Leaves, I thought about because there's different metaphors in there for me. But I think I'm gonna go
Mhm.
with My Parents Were Pedophiles.
Okay.
And it's
It's
my
a strong title.
yeah. And it's my memoir. And at first it was like my own journaling to heal. And then,
Oh, wow.
I would like to validate people like I've been validated in other books, but that took a
Mhm.
while for me to feel like I could, like to feel good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
I could, and so I'm just tying in inner child work with it and a therapeutic eye. Like, what should the child
Mhm.
know about these things? So I'm almost
Got it.
done, and yeah, that
Awesome.
was a whole nother healing level of experience too. I thought,
For
Well,
sure.
I'm healed because most days I don't even think about the abuse anymore.
Right.
I don't even feel like it really affects me. And then some days I get triggered. So I was really happy when I saw this interview with Gabor Mate, famous psychiatrist, trauma expert, saying that he still will get triggered.
Yeah.
And because I wanted
Yeah.
to find the magic cure that you're going to get all better 100%, but it's not realistic. And I also don't want to take
Yeah.
away the motivation and desire of people or the belief that you really, really, really can really, really heal. It's just that
Yeah.
Yeah.
100% healing in this life. It sets people up maybe to feel like failures, but also
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
very optimistic that a lot of healing can be done. You can have like I
Yeah.
mean I've been suicidal, homicidal without acting by the grace of God because
Of
I
Yeah.
always
course.
turn
Of
to
course.
prayer. I'm like, I really do believe in following the commandments. So even though I really want to do this thing, the commandments say don't. That's for me. That's what's
That's
safe
your
for me.
healing journey.
So, but yeah, so you can get a lot of healing, but sometimes you do get triggered. So the key is to find what helps you regulate. The more people that you can have a good community with, the better. Have a good
Yeah.
therapist. If you don't feel like your therapist is a
Yeah.
match or something, find another one. There's all kinds of good resources like the Crappy Childhood Fairy. She has great YouTube channel and stuff. I could name other therapists I like to follow. There's
Yeah.
a lot of great information out there.
For sure.
Can you tell me, Lisa, for anybody who wanted to reach out to you because you have this ability to be candid about everything that you went through, where would they be able to reach you at?
You can go to my website, Lisa Plumb, MFT.
.com
Yeah.
/healer,
Yeah.
which will be in the description for
Yeah.
sure.
Or
Yes.
email me, survivor2therapist@gmail. I do have a YouTube channel, other social media, Instagram, Facebook, Survivor to Therapist, or Lisa Plumb.
Awesome.
Lisa, don't go away, but I'm gonna stop. But I really appreciate you telling your story.
Yes.
I thought it was very insightful.
Yeah.
Offered perspective that, well, I never even thought to know I needed. It's
Yeah.
it's very helpful. I'm happy you're here. How about that?
Oh, thank you.
And I'm
Yeah.
happy you're doing what you're doing.
I'm happy
And
you
Thank you
guys
so
are
much.
too. I
No,
mean,
I really appreciate you. Thank you.
I thank you for having the